I have worked in IT in the help desk sort of field for many years, helping people with everything from complex to simple technical issues. If you've used a computer to browse the internet, you've probably at one point or another run into an issue with a website that won't act like you expect or isn't acting how it did the last time you touched it. This is one of the most frequent questions we receive, be it an internal help desk or even some of your larger internet service providers get these questions a lot. And there are a couple things you can do to jump past website issues before you give your IT organization a call. Anytime you use an application that is web-based, when I say web-based, that means it's not installed on your computer. You have to open up a web browser, go to a website in order to use the application. Like YouTube, you're going to youtube.com, you're browsing to find the videos. That's a web-based application. The more we become web-based, the more applications you see that are online. Your bank website, most likely your email. Lots and lots of things are web-based. However, the more web-based they become, it also introduces more opportunities for things to not exactly work as seamless as an application that's installed on your computer. If it's based on the internet, it has to go through a number of hoops and a number of digital translations to reach your web browser in front of you. Sometimes this creates some issues that you will see. Maybe you go to log in, you know you're typing the right username and password, but it's just not letting you in. Or maybe you go to load the website and it just doesn't load. Before you call your IT department or your IT guy or the person you know who's just really good at computers, try these things first. These 3 tips are among the top 10 of things that I have told people who have called the information technology help desk or have called me personally. Number 1 is clear cache and cookies. You may have heard the term cache, C-A-C-H-E. Sometimes what happens is web browsers save or cache data to your computer in order to load faster the next time you access them. This isn't an inherently bad thing. You will sometimes see people say you don't want to accept cookies on a website because they can track you. There is the possibility that a malicious website will use cookies in a bad way to track you, but most of the time what this is they're really gathering information on where are you browsing from, what ISP are you using, because they want to gather information on you to provide you certain ads that are geographically located to you. So instead of giving you a restaurant in a different state, they'll provide an ad for a restaurant down the street. It's not always a bad thing. What the cache is when you visit a website, your web browser essentially is saving or caching data to your computer so that that website loads faster the next time you visit it. An example might be if you're going to youtube.com or facebook.com, it might be the logos on the website. So the Facebook logo or the YouTube logo might cache that image file onto your hard drive. It doesn't take up a lot of space, you'll hardly notice it, but it puts that there so next time you hit the website, it doesn't have to reload that picture for you, and so it just pulls it up. But sometimes what happens is the cache is holding onto information that's no longer relevant. It might be outdated information, or it just gets stuck and in a bad state. So you hit that website and your computer doesn't know what to do, it doesn't know how to pull this information, something just gets stuck. You can clear the cache of most web browsers going into options and finding history and looking for browser history, but here's a really quick tip for you. You can use the keyboard shortcut Control-Shift-Delete. So hold the Control, hit Shift, hit the Delete key. On a Mac, it's Command-Shift-Delete. That one keyboard shortcut in most web browsers will pop up the screen you need to clear the cache. You can choose to clear the cache for all time or everything, click remove, and don't worry, you're not deleting anything important here, though you might need to enter a password again manually. But if you run into the issue where a website that you typically visit just isn't acting correctly, try clearing cache and cookies first. That's usually a really good thing to try. Another thing you can do that gets around the cache and cookie issue is to open up an incognito or an in private or a private browsing mode in your web browser. Depending on what web browser you're using, it might use different terminology for this. The Google Chrome web browser calls it incognito, and I think you can open up a new incognito window using the keyboard command, something like Control-Shift-N. You usually can click on the three dots menu and find an option that says Open New Incognito Window. If you're using Opera, you click on the O and you can open a private browsing window. If you're in Safari, you can open a private browsing window. If you're in Microsoft's Edge web browser, you can open up a in private browsing window. So pretty much every web browser has something that's incognito in private browsing mode. What this does is it essentially loads your web browser in a clean state, not caching data, it's not caching cookies, and it's not relying on the cache or the cookies that are already on your machine. And it's not going to save anything. Once you close that incognito window, everything you did there is not going to cache to your computer. You don't want to use incognito to save a password to remember for the next time you visit the website, because it won't be there. Incognito is really you use it, and then as soon as you close it, it's gone. What's good about incognito and private browsing modes is if you're having trouble with the website, you can always open up the incognito or the private browsing mode of your web browser, try the same website, and see if you have the same experience. Chances are, if it's a cache or cookie issue, that website will work just fine. And then you know that you should go ahead and clear the cache and cookies, and that website should work just fine in your web browser. Another option that is probably the easiest one, and I left it to the end because I want to make sure that you understand why clearing the cache and cookies probably is the be-all end-all for a lot of people, because it can seem like an overly technical solution that you don't want to take. Using the incognito or the private browsing modes allows you to browse the web without cache and cookies, and that helps diagnose that this might actually be a cache issue and you have to go back to step one and clear the cache of cookies. But another really easy workaround is to simply use a different web browser. There's really no excuse and no reason not to have multiple web browsers on your computer. You may love Microsoft's Edge, or you just use the web browser that came on your computer, whether it's Microsoft's Edge web browser or if it's the Apple Safari web browser, you're just going to use what's there. That's fine. And you don't have to use another web browser. If you prefer Safari, go ahead and use Safari. If you really want to use Google's Chrome, download Google Chrome, download Firefox, download Opera. You can use different web browsers on both Macs and PCs. Having more than one web browser is highly recommended. There's not much difference between modern web browsers, but there are still some websites out there that might not be optimized for every single web browser. I know a lot of websites that just don't operate very well on Apple's Safari web browser because of some of the proprietary things that Apple does. If you own a Mac computer and you're used to using Safari, you may have a great experience. I highly recommend that you download a secondary web browser, at least one, onto your Mac computer. You can download Google Chrome, which is a great web browser. There's Opera, which is another excellent option, and Mozilla Firefox, which you have probably heard of at one point or another. If you're on a Windows PC, your computer is going to come with Microsoft's Edge, which is the new version of Internet Explorer. The icon looks different. You can still download Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, or the Opera web browser. You can have those on Mac or PC. If you're using both, it's really nice to have something that looks similar on all of your devices. I have at least 2 web browsers on all my computers. On my PC, I have Edge, I have Opera, I have Chrome. On my Mac, I have Safari, I have Opera, I have Chrome. You'll probably have a preference for one web browser over another web browser, but having multiple web browsers is always a good decision. If you run into an issue on a website, if you were to call me, the first thing I'll tell you to do is to try a different web browser, typically because it's the easiest to do and you should have a web browser. If you don't have another web browser, I'm going to ask you to open up an incognito or an in private or private browsing window. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have you clear the cache and cookies by holding Control-Shift-Delete or Command-Shift-Delete if you're on a Mac, and clear out everything and try to re-access the website. I hope this video was helpful for you. Again, this is one of the things that comes up the most for us in IT support. Before you go calling tech support, try these 3 things first. Most of the time, that's going to clear up any issue that you'll have. Happy browsing.